The mafia boss's baby wouldn't stop crying on the plane until a single mother did the unthinkable. The infant's screams pierced through the first-class cabin like shattered glass, relentless and desperate. Every passenger within earshot winced, shifted uncomfortably, or shot irritated glances toward the source of the disturbance. But none dared to complain. Not when they saw the man holding the child. Lorenzo Costa sat rigidly in his seat, his jaw clenched so tight it could crack diamonds. The custom-tailored black suit that normally made him look like a dark angel now seemed to constrict around him like a prison. His normally cold, calculating eyes held a flicker of something foreign. Panic. Raw, unfiltered panic. The baby, his son Matteo, continued to wail, tiny fists flailing against Lorenzo's chest. 3 months old and already bearing the weight of a crown he didn't ask for. 3 months since Valentina had taken her last breath, bringing this child into the world. 3 months since Lorenzo Costa, the most feared man in the American underground, had become something he never thought possible. Helpless. Sir, one of his enforcers, Dante, leaned in carefully, speaking low enough that other passengers couldn't hear. We could land early. Find a... No. Lorenzo's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. We stay on schedule. But Matteo didn't care about schedules. He didn't care that his father controlled operations from New York to Boston, that men crossed streets to avoid his shadow, that entire families had disappeared at his word. Before I dive into this thrilling story, where are you watching from and what time is it? Let's see how far this story travels. Drop a comment, smash that subscribe button, and hit that like. You do not want to miss what happens next. 45 minutes. That's how long Matteo had been screaming. 45 minutes of Lorenzo trying everything. Bottles rejected, pacifiers spit out, rocking that did nothing. His son's face was red, veins visible on his tiny forehead, his cries taking on a quality that made Lorenzo's chest physically ache. He'd faced down rival families, negotiated million-dollar deals while guns were pointed at his head, ordered hits without flinching. But this tiny human destroying him from the inside out, this was torture beyond anything he'd experienced. A flight attendant approached, third one in 20 minutes. Sir, perhaps if we could. I've tried everything. Lorenzo's voice was rough, exhausted. He won't take the bottle. He won't calm down. He wants his mother. And she's dead. The words tasted like ash. Valentina. Beautiful, fierce Valentina who'd laughed at his dangerous world, who'd insisted on natural childbirth despite the risks, who'd hemorrhaged out before the doctors could save her. She'd held Matteo for exactly 4 minutes before the light left her eyes. Lorenzo hadn't cried at her funeral, hadn't cried since. But sitting here with her son, screaming for something he couldn't provide, he was breaking. 3 rows back, Claire Anderson heard every desperate wail and felt her body respond in ways she tried to suppress for 7 months. Her breasts ached with sympathetic letdown. Milk her body still produced despite having no baby to feed. Despite Sophia being gone, she pressed her hand against her chest, trying to will away the sensation. The grief counseling retreat in Chicago had been supposed to help. 3 weeks of therapy, of sharing stories with other parents who'd lost children, of learning to move forward. But how did you move forward when your body still prepared to feed a baby who'd never wake up again? Sophia, for months old, perfect and healthy one night, cold and still the next morning. Sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, the words that destroyed worlds. No warning, no explanation, just a mother's worst nightmare made real. Claire had returned to her pediatric ICU nursing job for exactly 2 weeks before she couldn't take it anymore. Watching other babies live while hers was in the ground, torture. She'd taken a leave of absence that was starting to look permanent. But that cry, that specific, desperate, hungry cry cutting through the cabin, Claire knew that sound. She'd heard it 1,000 times in the ICU. That wasn't just distress. That was starvation. That was a baby whose body was screaming for something specific, something primal, something bottles couldn't replicate. Her hands trembled as she unbuckled her seatbelt. This was insane. She should stay seated, mind her own business. Let the rich man in first class figure out his own child. But she was a nurse and that baby was suffering. Claire stood, moved up the aisle. The flight attendant, who'd just been dismissed by Lorenzo, looked at her with exhausted desperation. "I'm a pediatric nurse," Claire said quietly. "Maybe I can help." The attendant's relief was visible. The passenger has been resistant to help, but at this point, she gestured toward first class. "Be my guest." Claire pushed through the curtain, separating the cabins, and immediately felt the atmosphere change. First class was a different world. Leather seats, champagne glasses, passengers who paid more for 6 hours of flight than Claire made in a month. And there, in the center of it all, was Lorenzo Costa. Claire's breath caught. She'd seen dangerous men before. Worked in an ICU in a rough part of Boston. You saw everything. But this man? He radiated power like radiation. Dark hair styled with precision, sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, and eyes. God, those eyes. Dark and endless, and currently filled with a desperation that made him seem almost human. The baby in his arms looked so small, so fragile, so desperately in need. "Excuse me." Claire's voice came out stronger than she felt. "I'm a nurse. I know that cry. He's not just upset. He's hungry. Starving hungry." Lorenzo's head snapped up, those dark eyes locking onto her with an intensity that felt physical. "I've tried the bottle. He won't take it. Spits it out every time." Claire moved closer, studying Matteo's red face, the weak quality of his cries, the signs of dehydration starting to show. Some babies' refuse artificial nipples, especially if they were breastfed initially. Was he? She trailed off, not wanting to make assumptions. Pain flashed across Lorenzo's face, raw, unguarded, devastating. His mother died 12 weeks ago, bringing him into this world. His voice cracked on the last word, and Claire saw the man beneath the monster. Just a father, grieving and lost. "Then he's looking for something familiar," Claire said softly, her own grief recognizing his. Something he associates with comfort and safety. With her, their eyes met, and something passed between them. Understanding, shared pain, recognition of loss that only those who'd experienced it could know. "What are you suggesting?" Lorenzo's voice was careful, controlled. Claire's heart hammered. This was insane. This was crossing every professional boundary. This was potentially dangerous. But that baby was suffering, and her body was still producing what he desperately needed. "I lost my daughter 7 months ago," Claire heard herself say. "For months old. SIDS. But my body, it hasn't stopped. I'm still producing milk. If he needs something familiar, something natural, if you'd allow me to." She couldn't finish. The offer hung in the air between them, like something sacred and terrifying. Lorenzo stared at her, like she'd just offered him the moon. "You're offering to nurse my son, a complete stranger's child. I'm offering to help a baby who's suffering." Claire's voice was steady despite her shaking hands. "That's all. Just help." Dante materialized beside Lorenzo, hand moving subtly toward his weapon. "Boss, this could be a miracle," Lorenzo interrupted, his eyes never leaving Claire's face. "Or a trap." He studied her with an intensity that felt like being dissected. "Why would you do this? What do you want?" "I want that baby to stop suffering," Claire said simply. "I'm a nurse. It's what I do." Lorenzo stood slowly, fluid and graceful despite the screaming infant in his arms. Up close, he was even more overwhelming, tall, broad-shouldered, radiating danger and desperation in equal measure. "The lavatory," he said abruptly, "more private." Claire's pulse raced as she followed him toward the first-class bathroom, aware of Dante's suspicious gaze burning into her back. This was crazy. She was about to nurse a mafia boss's baby in an airplane bathroom. If someone had told her this morning, Lorenzo stopped at the door, hesitated. For just a moment, uncertainty crossed his features, probably hadn't shown doubt in years. "His name is Matteo, after my father." The words came out like a prayer and a confession. "I'll take care of him," Claire promised. "I swear." Lorenzo's jaw worked, emotions warring across his face. Then he nodded once, sharp, controlled, and handed Matteo to her. The baby's weight settled into her arms, familiar and foreign at once. Not Sophia. Would never be Sophia. But a child who needed what she could give. Lorenzo stepped back. Let her enter the bathroom alone. The door clicked shut. Claire looked down at Matteo's red, tear-stained face. Her hands moved on autopilot, unbuttoning her shirt, unhooking her nursing bra. She positioned him carefully, supporting his tiny head the way muscle memory demanded. For a moment, nothing happened. Matteo whimpered, searching. Then his instincts kicked in, and he latched on. The pull was immediate, familiar, devastating. Claire's eyes flooded with tears as she felt the milk flow, felt this stranger's baby nursing at her breast. He wasn't Sophia, but he was a child who needed her, and her body, still grieving, still producing, finally had a purpose again. "It's okay, little one," she whispered, stroking his dark hair. "It's okay now." Outside the door, Lorenzo stood with fists clenched, his enforcer maintaining a respectful distance. He just handed his son, his everything, to a complete stranger. He who trusted no one, who backgrounded everyone within 10 feet of Matteo. But something about Claire's grief-stricken eyes, her desperate compassion, had reached through his armor. Maybe because she understood loss the way only someone who'd lived it could. 20 minutes later, the bathroom door opened. Claire emerged with Matteo, sleeping peacefully in her arms. His tiny face relaxed for the first time since takeoff. One small fist curled against her chest. Lorenzo looked at his son, truly peaceful, truly content, and felt something shift inside him. Something dangerous. Something that in his world could get people killed. "He ate well," Claire said softly. "He'll probably sleep for hours now." She moved to hand Matteo back, but Lorenzo's hand shot out, fingers wrapping around her wrist with surprising gentleness. "Your name?" "Claire. Claire Anderson." "Lorenzo Costa." He released her wrist, took Matteo with practiced care despite the wonder in his eyes. "I owe you a debt, Claire Anderson. You don't owe me anything." Claire buttoned her shirt with shaking hands. "I was happy to help. In my world, everything has a price." Lorenzo's eyes fixed on her with intensity that stole her breath. "What you just did, feeding my son, giving him peace when nothing else could, that's not something I can walk away from." Something in his tone made Claire's heart race. It sounded like a promise and a warning. I should get back to my seat. "Wait." The word was command, not request. Lorenzo shifted Matteo to one arm, pulled a business card from his suit jacket. Simple, elegant, just a name and number. "Call me when we land. I want to properly thank you." Claire took the card, fingers brushing his. Electricity shot up her arm. From the slight widening of his eyes, he felt it too. "That's not necessary. It is to me." His voice went soft. "Dangerous. You gave my son something precious. The least I can do is express my gratitude properly." Claire knew she should say no. Everything about this man screamed danger. But there was something in his expression when he looked at Matteo, a vulnerability that called to her broken heart. "Okay," she heard herself agree. "Just to check on him. Make sure he's doing well." Lorenzo's smile was slight but transforming. "Just to check on him," he echoed, though his tone suggested something neither of them understood yet. Claire returned to her seat, heart pounding, card clutched in her hand. She didn't notice Lorenzo's men already pulling up information on her. Didn't know about the ancient traditions she'd just triggered. Didn't realize she'd stepped into a world that wouldn't let her go. 2 days later, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up outside Claire's Boston apartment. She'd expected a restaurant, maybe a coffee shop. Not this. A mountain of a man with an earpiece and a gun bulge under his jacket waiting by the passenger door. "Miss Anderson?" His voice was polite, but his eyes swept the street like a predator scanning for threats. "Mr. Costa sent me to collect you." Claire's stomach dropped. "I thought we were meeting somewhere public. The Don prefers privacy. For the baby's sake." The way he said the Don made it clear this wasn't negotiable. She climbed in. The locks engaged with an ominous click the moment her door closed. The windows were so dark she couldn't see out. Couldn't see where they were going. Couldn't escape. Oh God, she nursed a mafia boss's baby. A mafia boss. The drive took 40 minutes, winding through neighborhoods that got progressively wealthier until they passed through gates that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Armed guards. Cameras everywhere. A mansion that looked like it belonged in a crime movie. This was insane. This was... Matteo's cries cut through her panic. Distant but unmistakable, that same desperate wail from the plane. A woman in her 60s met Claire at the door. Angela. House manager. Mr. Costa is in the nursery. Follow me. Through marble halls and up a grand staircase that screamed old money and new danger. The crying got louder. More desperate. And Claire's body responded. Her breasts aching, milk already letting down, biology overriding common sense. Angela opened a door to a nursery straight out of a magazine. Soft grays and whites, hand-painted stars on the ceiling, toys worth thousands. And in the center of it all, Lorenzo Costa looking like he was being torn apart from the inside. He'd shed his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, revealing tattoos that told stories Claire probably didn't want to know. His hair was disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it for hours. And Matteo looked thinner, weaker, his cries taking on a quality that made Claire's nurse instinct scream. Claire! Lorenzo's voice was rough with relief and desperation. Thank God. He's been crying for you. Only you. Crying for me? Claire moved forward without thinking, her hands already reaching for the baby. Lorenzo, what happened? He looked fine on the plane. He won't eat. Won't take the bottle. Took formula once after you fed him, then refused everything. Lorenzo's jaw clenched. The doctors want to hospitalize him. Feeding tube. But I think he's looking for you. Claire took Matteo, and the baby's cries immediately softened. Not stopped. He was too far gone for that, but softened. Like he recognized her. Like he knew she could help. This isn't how it works, Claire said, even as she checked his vital signs with practiced efficiency. Babies don't just bond to random strangers. In my world, it is how it works. Lorenzo's intensity pinned her in place. You need to understand something about our traditions. The old ways that still govern families like mine. He sat in the rocking chair, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. When a woman nurses a Don's child, feeds him from her own body, she doesn't just help. She becomes bound to that child, to that family. It's ancient tradition, older than America. Claire's heart pounded. That's insane. That's superstition. Is it? Lorenzo looked at Matteo, who was calming in Claire's arms despite his hunger. My son is starving himself because instinct tells him you're his mother now. The woman who fed him when his own mother couldn't. Biology doesn't care about logic, Claire, and neither does tradition. I'm not his mother. Claire's voice broke. I can't be. I already lost. I know about Sophia. Lorenzo's words were gentle, devastating. My people did a background check. I know she died 7 months ago of SIDS. I know you left your job at Children's Hospital. I know you've been drowning. Claire felt violated, exposed, furious. You had no right. I had every right. You fed my son. In my world, that makes you family. And I protect family. But I also investigate family. Lorenzo stood, moved closer. I needed to know who you are, what you want. If you're a threat. I'm not a threat. I'm a nurse who helped a baby. Claire was shaking now, anger and grief warring inside her. I'm not joining your Mafia family. I'm not becoming some wet nurse in your twisted traditions. Matteo's cries intensified, responding to Claire's distress. Lorenzo's voice dropped, became almost pleading. He's dying without you, Claire. Look at him. Really look. She did. Saw the weight loss, the dehydration, the listlessness between cries. Saw a baby giving up on life because his body was searching for something specific. Something only she could provide. How long? Claire whispered. If I agree to this insanity, how long? Until he weans naturally. 12 to 18 months. Maybe longer. Lorenzo's honesty was brutal. But you be compensated. Protected. Given everything. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? Claire looked at Matteo, felt his tiny hand grip her finger, saw his eyes, Lorenzo's eyes, watching her with desperate hope. She thought about her empty apartment, her empty arms, her body that still ached to feed a baby who would never come back. I want to help him, she said quietly. Just him, not your empire, not your traditions. This baby who needs what I can give. Then help him. Lorenzo's eyes burned into hers. Move into the estate. Feed him when he needs it. Save his life. Everything else we'll figure out. Just until he weans, Claire said firmly. I'm not joining your family. I'm not becoming part of your world. I'm a nurse with a patient. That's all. Lorenzo's smile was knowing, almost sad. Tell yourself that if it helps. But the moment you fed my son, you became part of something bigger than both of us. You just don't see it yet. That night, Claire moved into a guest suite bigger than her entire apartment. Beautiful, luxurious, and utterly a cage. She could feel the security, the cameras, the watchers everywhere. Around midnight, a soft knock. Lorenzo stood there in pajama pants and a t-shirt, looking more human and somehow more dangerous. Matteo whimpered in his arms. He won't sleep. Would you? Claire took the baby without a word, settled into the chair by the window. As Matteo nursed, Lorenzo watched from the doorway. My grandfather told stories, he said quietly, about the old country, about wet nurses who fed Don's children when mothers couldn't. Those women became untouchable, sacred, under family protection for life. I don't need protection, Claire said. Everyone needs protection. You just don't know from what yet. Lorenzo moved closer. You think you're just helping a baby. But in my world, you just became one of the most protected people in America. No one will touch you. Ever. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you walked into. This isn't temporary, Claire. This bond, it's real. It's sacred. And whether you believe in tradition or not, my son has claimed you as his mother. And he stopped, jaw clenching. I won't let anything happen to either of you. Over the next 2 weeks, Claire fell into a strange new reality. She fed Matteo every few hours, and he thrived, gaining weight, becoming the healthy baby he should be. The estate staff treated her with almost worshipful deference. Lorenzo was there for every feeding, watching with an intensity that made her skin prickle. She overheard conversations she shouldn't, phone calls about shipments and territories that made her stomach turn. She was living with a criminal, feeding a criminal's son. But when she held Matteo, when his tiny hand curled around her finger, when he looked at her with those dark eyes, so like his father's, she couldn't bring herself to leave. One evening, Lorenzo invited her to dinner. Just the two of them after Matteo was asleep. The table was set like a date. Tell me about Sophia, he said, pouring wine. The question gutted Claire. I don't talk about her. Maybe you should. I talk about Valentina to Matteo every day. Tell him about his mother, how she fought to bring him here, how she made me promise to love him enough for both of us. His vulnerability cracked something in Claire's armor. She found herself talking about Sophia's laugh, her smell, finding her cold in her crib, the screaming that came from somewhere primal, the guilt that never stopped. Lorenzo listened without interrupting. It wasn't your fault. Sid's isn't anyone's fault. My brain knows that. My heart doesn't believe it. I understand. Lorenzo's voice was rough. Valentina died because of me, because I got her pregnant, because my world is dangerous, because stress probably contributed to complications. Her blood is on my hands. That's not how it works, isn't it? You blame yourself for Sophia. I blame myself for Valentina. We're both drowning in guilt that logic says is irrational. Their eyes met across the table. This man understood her grief in ways no one else had. It was dangerous. It was wrong, but it was real. That night, unable to sleep, Claire heard crying. Not Matteo, another sound. She followed it to Valentina's room, untouched since her death. Lorenzo sat on the floor surrounded by photos, tears streaming down his face. The first time he'd cried since she died. Claire sat beside him without a word. He collapsed against her, and she held him while he broke. I don't know how to do this without her, he whispered. Be a father. Be human. Be anything but what this world made me. You're doing it right now, Claire said softly. Grieving. Feeling. That's being human. He looked at her, their faces inches apart. The kiss was inevitable, desperate, grief-soaked, two broken people finding solace. They pulled apart, both terrified. This can't happen, Claire said. I'm here for Matteo. Tell yourself that. Lorenzo's voice was rough. But we both know it's already more. The next morning, everything changed. Angela pulled Claire aside, fear in her eyes. There are families who see you as Lorenzo's weakness now. The old traditions make you sacred, but also a target. That night, a gift arrived. Photos of Claire everywhere. The grocery store, the park with Matteo, her old apartment. Message clear. We can reach you anytime. Lorenzo's fury was volcanic. He called an emergency meeting. Claire overheard. She's under MY protection. The old ways are sacred. Anyone who touches her signs their death warrant. But the rival boss, Salvatore Russo, pushed back. The old ways say the wet nurse belongs to the family, not to the Don personally. You're breaking tradition, Lorenzo, making her something more. And Claire realized she hadn't just become Matteo's nurse. The attack came 3 nights later. Claire woke to gunfire, sharp cracks splitting the silence like thunder. She bolted upright, heart hammering, instinct screaming danger. Matteo. She had to get to Matteo. She ran barefoot down the hallway in her pajamas, adrenaline drowning out fear. The nursery door burst open and Lorenzo was there. Gun in hand, murder in his eyes, blood splattered across his white shirt. Not his blood, she realized with sick certainty. Get Matteo. Panic room. Now. His voice was pure command. No room for argument. Claire grabbed the baby from his crib. He was crying, terrified by the noise, and ran. Lorenzo's hand pressed against her back, guiding her through chaos. More gunshots, shouting in Italian. The acrid smell of gunpowder. They reached a hidden door behind a bookshelf. Lorenzo punched in a code, shoved them inside a reinforced room filled with supplies. Monitors showing security feeds, weapons mounted on walls. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone but me. Lorenzo's eyes locked on hers, desperate and fierce. Swear it, Claire. What's happening? Russo's men. They breached the perimeter. His jaw clenched. This is about you. About what you mean to us. I'm going to yindy this. He kissed her, hard, claiming, terrified, then slammed the door shut. The locks engaged with mechanical precision. Claire stood frozen, Matteo screaming in her arms, watching Lorenzo on the security monitors move through his house like death incarnate, firing with deadly accuracy, barking orders to his men. Every movement calculated, brutal, efficient. This was who he really was. Not the grieving father. Not the man who cried over his dead wife's photos. This was Lorenzo Costa, the Don, the killer, the monster his world had created. Claire should have been terrified, should have been planning escape. Instead, she watched him fight to protect them and felt something shift inside her chest. He was fighting for her, for Matteo, for their impossible family. The battle lasted 12 minutes that felt like hours. When silence finally fell, Claire counted bodies on the monitors. 5 of Russo's men, dead or dying. Lorenzo's team securing the perimeter. And Lorenzo himself, breathing hard, covered in blood, standing in the hallway outside the panic room. He entered the code. The door opened. His eyes found hers immediately, scanning her for injuries. You're hurt. We're fine. Lorenzo. He pulled them both into his arms, crushing them against his chest. His heart hammered against Claire's cheek. He was shaking. This dangerous man was actually shaking. If they got into you, his voice broke. If they touched either of you, they didn't. You stopped them. Lorenzo pulled back, cupped her face with hands still warm from firing a gun. This was a message, Claire. Russo saying he can reach you. That the old traditions won't protect you if I break them. What does that mean? It means I'm not supposed to fall for you. His thumb brushed her cheek. The wet nurse should be distant. Separate. A service to the family, nothing more. But I can't. I can't stay away from you. And that makes you a target. Claire's breath caught. You're falling for me? I've fallen for you. Past tense. Completely. Lorenzo's eyes were raw, honest. You're in my head constantly. I watch you with Matteo, and something in my chest tears open. I hear your laugh and forget how to breathe. You've destroyed me, Claire Anderson. Lorenzo. Russo sent an ultimatum. You leave the estate and my life, or there's war. Real war. Bodies in the streets. Innocents caught in crossfire. All because I couldn't keep my feelings professional. Claire's stomach dropped. Then I'll leave. I'll wean Matteo on a formula. No. The word was a growl. You don't leave. You don't walk away from my son. From me. People will die. Then they die. But you stay. His possessiveness should have terrified her. Instead, it ignited something primal. You're mine now, Claire. Mine to protect. Mine to keep. And anyone who tries to take you learns what happens when you threaten what belongs to Lorenzo Costa. I don't belong to anyone. He kissed her again, silencing protests with lips and tongue in desperate need. When they broke apart, Claire was gasping. You belong to us, Lorenzo said against her mouth. To me and Matteo. You became ours the moment you fed him. The moment you showed us compassion when the world shows us nothing but fear and hate. You're OURS, Claire, and I will burn this city down before I let Russo take you. The next morning, Lorenzo called an emergency meeting of all 5 families. Claire stood beside him, Matteo in her arms, feeling hundreds of eyes judging her. Lorenzo's declaration was public, absolute, terrifying. This woman is not just my son's nurse. She's my family, my future. Anyone who touches her dies. Anyone who questions this can challenge me now. The room went silent. No one challenged a Don holding his child, claiming his woman. But Salvatore Russo's face was pure rage. You're making her your queen? A nobody nurse with no family, no connections, no blood. I'm making her untouchable, Lorenzo said coldly. And if you're smart, Salvatore, you'll accept that and live. Because the alternative is me coming for you and yours with everything I have. Russo backed down. For now. But his eyes promised this wasn't over. That night, Claire confronted Lorenzo. I didn't ask for this. To be your queen, your weakness. You're not my weakness. Lorenzo's voice was fierce. You're my strength. The reason I want to be better. The reason I fight. Your world tried to kill me. My world will now protect you. You're under my shield, Claire. No one touches you. Ever. 3 months passed. Claire integrated into Lorenzo's life. Not just as Matteo's nurse, but as his partner. When Lorenzo wanted violence, Claire showed him another way. When business decisions came up, he asked her opinion. When grief overwhelmed him, she held him. The family learned to respect her. This woman who'd walked into their world unafraid, who'd changed their dawn, who was teaching them that power didn't require cruelty. But Russo wasn't done. The kidnapping attempt came on a Tuesday. Claire was at the park with Matteo, 2 bodyguards shadowing them. Russo's men moved fast, knocked out the guards, grabbed for the stroller. But Claire wasn't helpless anymore. Weeks of self-defense training, of learning to shoot, of understanding this dangerous world. It kicked in instantly. She fought. Hard. Vicious. Protecting Matteo with everything she had. When Lorenzo arrived, sirens wailing, he found Claire holding a gun on one attacker, the other unconscious on the ground. Matteo safe in the stroller behind her. His pride was overwhelming. That's my queen. Russo was finally eliminated that night. Off-screen. Implied. But the threat was over. In the aftermath, as they stood in the nursery with Matteo, finally asleep, Lorenzo pulled Claire close. You saved him today. Saved yourself. You're not a victim in this world anymore, Claire. You're a warrior. I'm just a mother protecting her son. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Lorenzo's eyes widened. Your son. Claire looked at Matteo, felt the love that had grown from duty into something real. He's mine now, not by blood, but by choice, by sacrifice, by every feeding, every midnight cry, every smile. He's mine. Then marry me. Lorenzo's voice was rough. Make it official. Be his mother legally. Be my wife. Be my partner in everything. Your world is dangerous. My world will protect you. I'll protect you. We'll raise Matteo together, Claire. Give him a better life than either of us had. Break the cycle. Claire thought about Sophia, about the life she'd lost. Then looked at Matteo, at Lorenzo, at the impossible family she'd found. Yes, but we do it right. We raise him to be better, to choose differently. I'll spend my life trying, Lorenzo promised. For you, for him, for us. The wedding was massive. Hundreds of guests, tradition and power on full display. But when Lorenzo kissed her at the altar, when Matteo giggled in her arms, when the family cheered, Claire knew she'd found home. 1 year after the plane, Matteo said his first clear sentence, "Love you, Mama." He meant her, not Valentina. Her. Claire's tears flowed freely. This was healing. This was redemption. This was love growing from the ashes of grief. And she was pregnant with their daughter, Sophia Valentina, honoring both women they'd lost. 6 months after the wedding, Claire stood in the nursery watching Matteo take his first real steps. 13 months old now, healthy and thriving, his dark eyes, Lorenzo's eyes, bright with determination as he wobbled from the couch to her waiting arms. "Mama," his victory cry when he made it, throwing himself against her legs. Claire's heart swelled. Every single time he called her that, she felt Sophia's memory bless it instead of haunt it. Her first daughter had taught her how to be a mother. Matteo was letting her be one again. "You did it, baby." She scooped him up, spinning him around. His giggle was pure joy. Lorenzo appeared in the doorway, his expression soft in a way that still surprised her. The fear dawn melting completely around his son. Around her. "Did I miss it?" He walked. 5 whole steps. Claire's excitement was contagious. Lorenzo crossed the room, pulled them both into his arms. His family. His everything. "That's my boy." His hand moved to Claire's stomach. 6 months pregnant now, their daughter growing strong. Sophia Valentina. A name that honored both the women who'd shaped their lives. "How's she doing today?" Lorenzo's voice always went softer when he talked about the baby. "Active. I think she's going to be a fighter like her brother." Claire smiled. "Like her father. God help us if she has your stubbornness and my temper." Lorenzo kissed her forehead. "We'll never survive the teenage years." Claire laughed. This domestic peace still felt surreal sometimes. The man who'd once terrified her now made her breakfast, read bedtime stories, changed diapers without complaint, loved her with an intensity that took her breath away. But peace was fragile in Lorenzo's world. The threat came from an unexpected source. Lorenzo's own cousin, Marco Vitali, bitter about Lorenzo's shift toward legitimate business. Bitter that Lorenzo was softening. Bitter that a woman had changed the dawn. Marco made his move during a family gathering. Pulled a gun in Lorenzo's own dining room. Aimed at Claire. "You've made him weak," Marco snarled. The great Lorenzo Costa, brought down by a nurse and her sentimentality. Time slowed. Lorenzo moved, but Marco was faster, finger tightening on the trigger. Then Lorenzo's grandmother, Nana Maria, stepped between them. 90 years old and absolutely fearless. "You dare." Her voice was ice and iron. "You point a weapon at the mother of our Don's children? At the woman who saved our heir when we all stood helpless?" Marco faltered. Nana, she's not even Italian. She's more than Italian. She's family. She fed our baby with her own body. She stood against enemies to protect him. She's earned her place here more than you ever have with your schemes and ambition." The room erupted. Family members choosing sides. But the old guard, the ones who remember traditions, they stood with Claire, protected her, honored her. Marco was banished that night, stripped of his name, gone. And Claire finally understood. She wasn't just Lorenzo's wife. She was sacred to this family. The woman who'd nursed the Don's child. The mother who'd saved their future. Later, in their bedroom, Lorenzo held her while she shook. "I'm sorry. I should have seen Marco's betrayal." "You can't control everything," Claire said softly. "You can't protect me from every threat. Watch me try." His arms tightened. "You and these children are my world, Claire. Everything I do, every decision I make, it's for you. Then keep your promise. Keep moving the family toward legitimate business. Keep breaking the cycle. Give Matteo and Sophia a better world." "I am. It's slow, but I'm doing it. For them. For you." Lorenzo's hand cupped her face. "You've changed me in ways I didn't think possible. Made me want to be worthy of you." "You already are," Claire whispered. "You saved me too, Lorenzo. Gave me a reason to keep living when I thought I died with Sophia. Gave me a family when I had nothing." They kissed, slow and deep, two souls who'd found each other in impossible circumstances. 3 months later, Claire gave birth to Sofia Valentina Costa. 7 pounds, dark hair, lungs that announced her arrival to the entire hospital floor. Lorenzo was there, holding Claire's hand through every contraction, every push, every moment. When the doctor placed their daughter in his arms, tears streamed down his face. "She's perfect. She's Claire. She's perfect." Matteo met his sister that afternoon, climbing onto the hospital bed carefully to peer at the tiny bundle. "Baby sister," he said seriously. "I protect her, like Papa protects Mama." Lorenzo's expression was pure emotion. "That's right, son. We protect our family. Always." Nana Maria visited that evening, pulling Claire aside. "You know what you are now?" the old woman said. "You're legend. The nurse who saved the Don's son, who tamed the wolf of the East Coast, who brought peace to our family. They'll tell stories about you long after we're gone." Claire laughed through tears. "I just wanted to help a crying baby on a plane." And changed everything. Nana Maria squeezed her hand. That's how the best stories begin. 2 years later, the Costa family was transformed. Lorenzo had moved, most operations fully legitimate. The violence had decreased. The family was respected not just for fear, but for the charity work Claire had initiated, the scholarships Lorenzo funded, the community centers they built. Matteo was 3, confident and happy, no memory of those desperate early days. Sofia was walking, talking, ruling the house with her personality. And Claire was pregnant again, a surprise that made Lorenzo's smile last for days. On a random Tuesday, Claire was at the grocery store with both kids when a woman approached her. "You're Claire Costa, right? I saw you on the news." The woman hesitated. "I just want to say, my sister lost her baby last year. Sid's like yours. She's been drowning. But when she heard your story about how you found purpose again, about how you turned your grief into love for another child, it gave her hope." "Thank you." The woman left before Claire could respond, but the words settled deep. Her pain had meaning. Sophia's death had meaning. Not because it was fair or right, it never would be, but because Claire had chosen to let love grow from that loss. That night, after the kids were asleep, Lorenzo found Claire on their balcony overlooking the estate. Thinking, he wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "About that plane," Claire said softly. "About hearing Matteo cry. About making the choice to help. If I'd stayed in my seat, if I'd minded my own business, none of this would exist." "We wouldn't exist," Lorenzo agreed. "Matteo might not have survived. I'd still be drowning in grief and violence. This family wouldn't have found peace." One choice, Claire marveled. One moment of compassion changed everything. That's the power you hold, amore. You see suffering and you can't walk away. It's who you are, who you've always been. Lorenzo turned her to face him. The mafia boss's baby wouldn't stop crying on the plane until you did the unthinkable. You saved him, but you also saved me. Saved yourself. Saved all of us. Claire kissed him, tasting home and hope and hard-won happiness. Behind them, through the window, Matteo and Sofia slept peacefully. Safe, loved, protected by parents who'd found each other through grief and built something beautiful from ashes. The unthinkable had become their reality. And Claire Anderson Costa had never been more grateful for a crying baby on a plane. If this story touched your heart, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling us your favorite moment. Hit that like button and turn on all notifications because we've got more incredible stories that will blow your mind. Don't miss out. Subscribe today and join our community.